The evening off with, I think, our first proclamation of the year. We have the official proclamation for the Barbershop Singing Week. So whereas the Canby-based Oregon Trail Pitch Pipers Barbershop Chorus is presenting their 47th annual show here in Canby, and whereas the Oregon Trail Pitch Pipers Chorus will be performing in this great event at the Richard R. Brown Fine Arts Center, and will be joined by other competing quartets and choruses. And whereas this year's annual Barbershop Singing Show will be held on February 7th, 2013, with two performances at 2 p.m. and at 7:30 p.m. And whereas the City of Canby, by virtue of this proclamation, recognizes the wholesome entertainment and outstanding contribution to American music made by barbershop singers everywhere over the course of our nation's history. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the City of Canby, do hereby proclaim February 10th through the 16th, 2013 as Barbershop Singing Week in the City of Canby, and urge all citizens to attend one of the two performances of the 47th Annual Barbershop Singing Show at the Richard R. Brown Fine Arts Center on February 16th, 2013, so that this form of musical entertainment and its rich heritage may be enjoyed by all. Given unto my hand this 6th day of February 2013 in the City of Canby, Oregon. And I believe we have someone here to receive this.
Thank you, sir, very much for this kind gesture.
Well, thank you very much.
You and the City Chamber, we greatly acknowledge this. Speaking of four-part harmony, sir,
yes,
we just happen to have a quartet.
I see that.
In full dress uniform.
What do you know?
If you would allow, I'd like to have them come up and give just a little bit of what four-part harmony is and what our show will consist of. And at this time, may I please present Tonsorial Board.
In 1937, a very worried young composer named Irving Berlin was in Europe, and he had seen the jackboots. He had seen the troops marching into the Rhineland. He became very worried about his own country. So he came back here and wrote a song, which many construe falsely. He wrote a song about patriotism, and he didn't. If you listen to the words of this song, he talked about singing a prayer. So we have this salute to Mr. Berlin and sing God Bless America.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home, my home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with with the light from above.
From the
mountain to the prairie, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. America, my home.
Take it through 12. Y'all to come.
All right.
I want to hear more.
We'll be there.
Thank you so much. Pick up your pencil here on the table.
Very good, thank you.
Y'all have a good meeting.
There's a reason why I never sang, because you can't do those things.
You can't yodel?
I cannot yodel, no.
Okay.
All right, excellent. Great way to start off. Next on the agenda, communications. Nothing? Fantastic. First opportunity for some citizen input. I have one yellow card with another one on the way. So anything that's non-agenda item. So first up, Mr. Lee Wiggins. Would you like to come up, sir?
I can't sing and I can't yodel, so I'm gonna have to just fake it.
No
For
yodeling?
the last
Oops.
several mayors that
That's
we've
you.
gone through, we've tried to be involved a little bit in politics, and we realized that politics is for big boys, and I'm not there yet. And so one of the things, though, that God encourages us to do is to pray for those that have the rule of authority, and that's you guys. Hi.
Hello.
And so in the past, we have come about every 3 or 4 months and handed out these beautiful orange cards and asked you as our elected officials to do us a favor and just put your name on the card and put down some things that we can be praying for you. And as you can see, Brian, we've been praying for you for months and months and months, and on the back we initial them and say, this is the number of times that we prayed for you. And Counselor Ayers, we've been praying for you, and there's a whole bunch of new faces here. And I know some of you, and you're great people, and so we want to support you and encourage you in all the ways that we can. And so we want to pray for you, and on Wednesday nights we gather together and pray, and I've thought about being involved in this process, but I've come to the conclusion I'd rather pray for you than do what you're doing. But we really appreciate what you guys are doing. It is a whole bunch of work, and I know there's many, 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 many thankless hours. So we appreciate what you do. But I haven't been here for about a year. It's been really a crazy year. And so if you would do that and then pass them around to, I forget her name. Kim, and I'll collect them from her tomorrow. And the only other thing that I would like to mention as a possibility is a few years ago, we passed a road maintenance fee for the city of Canby, and I came and encouraged the city council at that point in time to maybe remove churches from paying that fee/tax. And our former mayor encouraged them to look into that. The city attorney at that time said it could be done, but he would recommend not it being done because, you know, then you have to let the Kiwanis and everybody else be exempt from that. And I said, well, Kiwanis aren't in the Constitution. I think the separation of church and state is. And so I would encourage you to think about that. No pressure. But if you would consider, and I've talked to several different pastors in town, and they said, we're behind you. And so if you want me to collect names of pastors and petitions and all that kind of stuff, I'd be glad to do that. But if you just think about that, and we'll pray for you along those lines, because we just don't feel that churches should be taxed. And in the city of Canby, they are. They call it a fee, but it's sort of kind of a tax. So that's all I have to say. And again, I really appreciate all of your work, and we'll be praying for you as you fill that empty thing over there. And I probably shouldn't lobby for anybody while I'm up here, but we'll pray that you pick a real good person, okay? Thank you for your time. Keep
Thanks,
up the good
Lee.
work.
Thanks, Lee.
All right. Next up is Miss Gina Hosford. You want to step up here to the mic?
Oh, you need to pray for me too.
He will.
He will be.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come tonight. My name's Gina Hosford. I'm the new chamber president this year for 2013. Just wanted to say hi, and I think I know most of you guys, but just wanted to say we look forward to a good year and a good partnership with the city as we move forward.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Is that congratulations or is that my condolences?
Well,
I'm not sure.
we're going to be positive about this.
It's a
Congratulations.
big job.
Congratulations.
It's a big job. Congratulations.
Who knows where it can lead?
No, maybe one day she can be mayor.
Maybe you could be mayor.
All right. On that note, we'll move into my business. How's that sound? First off, I just want to say happy birthday to my daughter and son. Emma and Dylan are both 9 and 7 today. So, yes, we had cake and ice cream and pizza and gifts and everything prior to the meeting tonight. So, hopefully,
Same day, 2 years apart?
they are
Wow.
2 years apart, 2 hours and, or 2 years and like 7, 8 hours apart. Yeah.
There's got to be a meaning there someplace.
I should have bought lotto tickets and I didn't. So, yeah, so they're going to be in bed by the time I get home, is the goal. Let's say congratulations to Kat, who celebrated its 2 millionth rider. And thank you for Councilor Dale, who represented the council for the celebration of our longest paratransit rider that we've had, which I'm sure Councilor Dale will talk about that a little bit. Reminder to the council that we have our goal setting on February 23rd. Myself and Councilor Dale will be meeting with Greg and the facilitators for that coming up, so that get you guys some homework and some advanced work to get started on that. And then looking at the Ford leadership piece that's just finished up, congratulations, Greg. I know you guys just had your graduation. Is that the correct term? Starting to see members filtering in from the Ford leadership group into various organizations here in the community. Is there any plans, does that stuff get tracked at all, or how do you guys keep track of the impact that is having?
We don't necessarily keep track of, but we do try to communicate to the applicants here tonight. We're in that process. Clint and Gwen were at the graduation on Monday night, and we hope that this year's class will also be teachers for the next class, which will be starting next January, a year from now. So we hope that people will get involved as Clint and Gwen have, and for the people that facilitated the visioning were Ford leadership people. So we think it's a good program, and it's done its job. I think it's got people into leadership programs within the community.
Yeah, because I noticed tonight in the consent agenda, Ms. Monacuco on the Bike and Ped committees
Right.
going to be part of that too, and she was part of that group as well.
One of the people on the Transit Advisory Committee was in that group, and I think he's 16 years old. And so it was good for him to step forward and do that too. So I think we're seeing some fruits of that project, that organization.
Excellent. And then finally, we've had a request from CTV5 Tony there in the back that at the end of the evenings to not pull the mics because there's still power going to them. So just let him shut things down, and he'll make sure that they get turned off quickly so that we don't have hot mics in our post-meeting dribble? No, conversation. So that is all that I have. We'll start there with Rich with comments and reports.
Yeah, I have no liaison reports. The last Parks Board meeting was the same night as one of our library meetings, and then I did attend the second of the 3 library planning meetings, and I was pleased to see a very large turnout and interest. So I think that's a good thing, and would remind people that the next library planning meeting, I believe, is February 19th at 6:30. Again, at the police department, and encourage the public to come and see what the concept plan looks like from the architects.
Great. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, attended the library visioning meeting as well as the roundtable with Congressman Schrader. It was interesting to hear everybody's I guess, requests from the federal government, from the municipalities. There was a large representation from school boards there this time, of course, with the school funding in the way it is. Went to the Clackamas City's dinner and the Chamber Gala, and as far as liaison report, we had a school board meeting a couple of weeks ago. Gosh, it's been a long time since our last meeting. I was realizing that when I wrote down everything. It's been 3 weeks. School board meeting where the magnet school plan for Trost Elementary was discussed, and it will be discussed again tomorrow at the Omni Room at the high school at 6:30 p.m. On the Main Street front, the promotions committee is planning a garden spot run for May 4th. So if you or someone you know has some experience in facilitating something like that, would like to be a volunteer, get a hold of Jamie Stickle at the planning office. And the design committee has been working on the toolbox for new businesses if they want to do a facade improvement and that kind of thing. There'll be information available to those businesses in this toolbox that we're working on. And there was some discussion about murals as well. Apparently there's a business in town interested in doing a mural, and so we're going to pull out that mural program and see about getting those things done. We do still have some spots available on those committees, so if you're interested in being on the design committee or the promotions committee, again, get a hold of Jamie. And on the Ford Family Foundation front, I also attended the Effective Organizations kickoff. And if you or someone you know has a nonprofit organization and would like some training on how to improve communications and facilitation of your nonprofit, then get a hold of, I'm going to say Greg, get a hold of Greg Ellis at City Hall, and he'll have the information on when those meetings are, as I don't have it in front of me. That is what I have this time, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Dell?
Mr. Mayor, likewise with my fellow councilors, attended 2 of the library planning meetings and was delighted to help participate in the 2 millionth writer celebration for CAT. I got to ride to Oregon City with our 2 millionth writer and see him off as he transferred to TriMet. And then on the way back, got to help hand out all the goodies we brought, cookies and paperweights and hats and all kinds of things. It was kind of fun. And yes, likewise, we honored our longest continuous writing paratransit customer. She's customer number 3. Customers number 1 and number 2 aren't with us anymore. So she's the senior one, and she's been writing for just shy of 13 years.
Wow.
With CAT. Very great.
Wow.
That concludes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Parker?
3 reports here to follow up on the Main Street report. The main thing I'm interested and excited about is the fun run, which is going to be concurrent with the Master Gardener event. So that'll be the first weekend in May, and I understand all of us will be entered into the fun run. So
Only if I can ride my bike.
we'll be looking forward to all of you at the starting line and see how many of us are at the finish line.
It is a fun.
5K walk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And my new liaison duties with OCTS, I'd like to point out that our CTV, Channel 5, our local community television station, is having an open house on February 21st. That's a Thursday, from 3 to 6. If you haven't been down there, it's on 2nd Avenue, right around the corner from the Graham Building. Good time to come in and take a look at the new equipment that we have. I'm going to be doing some training on that, so I can do some historic documentary work on the downtown. And if you've ever wanted to do some television production, good time to come down and talk. And then on the Bike Ped Committee, we're doing some sort of strategic visioning on things that we'd like to do, specifically tying it into bicycle tourism and ways to utilize bicycling as a means of bringing tourists in. And also, as was mentioned, Mindy Monacuco is on our consent agenda as a applicant for the Bike Pedestrian Committee, and she's already started attending meetings and has a lot of great ideas, so I commend her application to you. That's it.
Great. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I want to start off by thanking Councilman Dale for taking my place and giving the report as liaison for the CAT Canby Area Transit, I had a personal kind of crisis that day, and Tim was gracious to fill in for me, and so I learned about most of the information at the board meeting that night, and I just thought I'd mention Sean Nelson is the young man that had graduated from the culinary school, and he received a year's pass. And so this is really working out very well for him as he is utilizing this to get to his new job. And so I want to thank you for doing that. I also was able to go on 2 tours of libraries, one up in Camas, Washington, and the other one down at Lebanon, and see some really wonderful architectural work that had been done by the FFA architectural group that's going to be doing our library, and just really some great ideas and insights. And I know when I was there at the Lebanon library, it's built very much on the same kind of scale that ours is going to be, and I just wish we'd have had some kind of sky crane that, you know, we could have just lifted it and stuck it in place. But the architectural drawings that we saw at this second meeting just was great. I really enjoyed the design that they have, the facade on the outside and what looks like we're going to have on the inside, so looking forward to that. And this was discussed at our library board meeting Tuesday night, and they showed us some more of additional plans. And so everything seems to be going very well. We've got all our grant paperwork submitted for acquiring grants for the library, and I think the largest they said was $200,000 from the Ford Foundation, and another, let's see,
Collins Foundation, I think was another.
Collins Foundation, that's right. So those are the 2 that I have, so thank you.
Great, thank you. With that, we'll move into the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the January 16th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting, the appointment of Mindy Montecucco to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2014, and appointment of Jack Pendleton to the City Budget Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2015.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded by Councilor Hensley, moved by Councilor Dale, seconded by Councilor Hensley to adopt the minutes of the January 16th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting, appointment of Mindy Montecucco to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2014, and appointment of Jack Pendleton to the City Budget Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2015. Comments at all? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, passes 5-0. All right. Perfect, moving on the agenda, we're moving to a little public hearing this evening. Find my trusty sheet here. Okay, the public hearing format. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify this matter at the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name, address, and interest in the matter. Those people other than the applicants that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hand at this time. All right. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. You may be limited by your time for your presentation. The applicant will have a total of, it's city staff, so as much time as we need to understand it tonight. And the proponents will be, we'll give you 3 minutes tonight, since there's so many of you that want to talk about it. Then the applicant will then have as much time as she needs tonight for rebuttal. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. All applicable substantive criteria for evaluating the application are displayed on the walls. Please direct your testimony to those criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulations which you believe apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements of evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may include appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Conflict of interest. Do I need to continue? Do I need to read through that?
If there are conflicts, I mean, it is a public hearing, so
So,
it'd be
okay.
good to hear.
Just keep reading.
At this time, I would ask that any members of the hearing body that has a conflict of interest, please indicate the nature and extent of the conflict and whether you intend to participate or abstain from the hearing of this present matter.
I have no conflict and I will participate.
No conflict, I'll participate.
No conflict and will participate.
Ditto.
Ditto.
All right. Ex parte contact. Also, if any member of the hearing body has had any ex parte contact with anyone prior to this hearing, including a visit to the site, please declare the nature and extent of the such contact at this time.
There's no site to
There's
visit.
no site to
so-
look at. Does any member of the audience have any question for any counselor or the mayor regarding conflict of interest or ex parte contact? Seeing none, the hearing will be conducted as follows. Staff report, questions by the hearing body, open public hearing for the testimony, so we'll hear from any dialogue from opponents, and rebuttal if need be. Closed public testimony, questions, and then discussion by the hearing body. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Any questions about the procedures? All right, with that, I'll move it over to Angela and Brian Brown. All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilor Ryder, welcome to the council.
Thank you.
I've spoken to you on the phone, but I'm Angie Leonard, the Associate Planner, and this is Brian Brown, the Planning Director. Tonight we have some text amendments to our zoning code for you to look over, and hopefully you've already looked over them. They're mainly what we call cleanup items, and it's necessary to do that regularly to keep your code up to date. So my plan was to not go through, but if the council requests it, I can go through page by page. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of these code changes and has gone through page by page and line by line. All the recommended changes are highlighted in yellow. But I will give a summary of all that is in your packet, and happy to answer any questions about any of it. And I will solicit some discussion for a couple of items about abandoned sign language, downtown screening, and preparing the final findings language based on some issue, because these are issues that pertaining to citizen complaints that the council might have heard, or a response to some council input on some of those items. And then just to note, the packet only includes the pages from the code with edits in order to condense your packet down. I placed 2 copies of the entire code up there if you want to reference the context of them, but at the bottom center of the page is the chapter from where it was, from the code it is from. So Any questions?
Well, Angie,
And I would, I recommend it interactive as I go along, interrupt, have questions, or,
Why don't, if it's okay with the council, that you present the pieces that you'd mentioned that you wanted to kind of go
Okay.
through and clarify, and then we'll dialogue about that, and then we'll go back through. I don't think page by page is necessary, but just maybe the pages that have questions from
okay. Do you want me to
from
give a
us.
summary of all the changes here, kind of summarize the?
Sure, let's summarize
Okay.
them, and then the high points, the screenings you talked about,
Okay.
those items there, and then we'll go from
Okay.
there.
Okay. So staff initiated these changes based on citizen feedback and from staff use of the code. Zoning codes in particular they're never perfect. They always need some changes, so regular maintenance is important, and that's what we're trying to do. Tonight, we did all our notifications to Department of Land Conservation and Development, the state Land Use and Planning Agency. They had no comment. And the staff report goes through all applicable code criteria and states that we're not in violation of any state or local laws by changing these these text amendments. So overall, it involves correcting grammatical errors, wording changes based on Planning Commission feedback, making it more legible, clarifying application and review procedures, clarifies the duties of the planning director, and code interpretations made by the planning director, clarifies the planning commission or planning director may review developments using engineered aggregate, pebbles, engineer aggregate. Clarification that maintenance of permeable surfacing on private properties is responsibility of the property owner. That's just a clarification. That's not a new standard. Modifying the multifamily design standards, including revising a design review menu in that chapter so it's more legible and easier to comply with, and by adding some additional options. Modifying the screening requirement, or some language to the screening requirements in downtown. Minor design modifications for downtown design standards. Adding a figure to clarify the definition of a sign copy area in the sign chapter. Adding language to clarify the definition of abandoned signs and requirements to remove abandoned signs, which I'll ask for discussion in a minute. Changing square footage maximum for temporary signs in the commercial and industrial zones, making it more permissive. Clarifying automobile sign standards, clarifying lighting standards, clarifying changing wattage requirements in the lighting chapter to lumens to reflect changes in technology. Wattages are becoming an obsolete reference to brightness. Clarifying roadway to driveway spacing standards for single-family residential. Clarifying design review standards, including revising the design review menu so that it's, again, more legible and easier to comply with, and adding some design options. Clarifying that the Site and Design Review Board is optional, and that the Planning Commission serves as the Site and Design Review Board when no separate Site and Design Review Board is appointed. Clarification and slight alteration of landscaping requirements to give more flexibility to applicants. Omitting outdated solar access standards. Basically, new technology has rendered many of these obsolete, and staff has found over the years that to really enforce those chapters, it would take almost a full-time job. And it mainly pertains to layouts of houses and not to solar panel use. So that's why they're obsolete, because they encourage passive solar gain and not the use of solar panels, and they encourage lower densities and basically require a bubble of treeless, structureless area around homes, and that encourages inefficient use of land. And there's even been developers in the past that have tried to get around those standards by not putting windows in, because apparently if you don't have a window, you wouldn't have to follow them. They just don't work, and they haven't been used for years, and so if we're not using them, we shouldn't have them. And that's was blessed by the Planning Commission, and the outgoing Planning Commission chair said hallelujah, those are finally gone. So that's what all those omissions are. We altered the membership requirement of the Historic Review Board so that fewer members are required, in hopes that we can revive that board. And especially if we do have a board, we are eligible for historic preservation-related grants. So we need that board to get those. Adding some additional language at the request of the city recorder regarding board appointments to the Historic Review Board. So, any questions on that? Go on to the discussion items then.
Okay.
If you go to page 26 of your packet. So the language proposed to be added here is kind of a response to citizen complaints about trash and dumpsters downtown. And the language in there is purposefully vague and non-committal and wishy-washy, and with statements such as mechanical and trash garbage collection areas may, not shall, be brought into conformance. Shared garbage and recycling collection areas are encouraged, not using the word required. The tricky thing is, when we receive complaint for a new development during design review, we can always require, and most developments nowadays put a nice fence or screen around their dumpsters when they're building the building. But the tricky thing is, what do you do about the businesses that have been around for years and years? There are communities out there that write in their codes, within X amount of time, you need to put a fence or a screen around your dumpster. And as you can imagine, at the property owner expense, and you can imagine that's quite controversial. We just added this language in an attempt to be responsive and solicit discussion, and I don't know. We want your feedback. So,
Angie, is this a certain area, like the alley through town?
Or alleys, parking lots.
Primarily?
Yeah. We receive, complaints, and they have their trash out in the middle of the parking lot, or some of it's with the roller trash cans that we get complaints about, and that's not even, to me, that's an easy.
The roller, you mean like we have at home?
Yeah, like.
Not the dumpster type?
To me, and that's, a lot of these solutions need to be worked out with the property owners. But, we added some encouraging language in there, but, it's tricky. So I don't know what council thinks about that, or what kind of complaints you've received, but the city receives complaints, so.
What was the planning commission's take on, so the mechanical equipment may be brought into conformance. We can choose to, we can choose not to. And our current code is anybody, new development-wise, that stuff gets screened in.
Yeah.
And there's a
As
designated area, et cetera.
For a new development, you can pretty easily, require that and look for that kind of thing when they're putting it in, but. I think I know Renata sent me, the Economic Development Director sent me an article about kind of a downtown cleanup type fund, and even / ordinances. I think it was the city of Lebanon they were doing. But I know she in particularly receives complaints about this isn't maintained and this and that, and this looks ugly, and so.
Are we seeing this from one or two businesses? Or is this a rampant
It's
issue?
a couple. Greg or Brian, you might have more insight as to exactly who we're talking about, but.
I think you've probably hit it on the head from my knowledge. It's one or two has resulted in the statement. And so the Planning Commission did go ahead and recommend this encouraging language, and we did discuss the fact that encouraging language in an ordinance really isn't worth much.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead, Rick.
this is not one that I've heard of, but I have observed, in places at certain times, there's, I guess you'd call it an unsightly situation, but in a couple of the areas that I'm thinking of, I don't know what the solution really is because of the way the old part of town is built, short of doing what San Francisco does in their tight old towns, and that's make them store it indoors and then haul it out when the trash truck comes, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the solution is other than that. But then, I mean, like I say, I haven't had a lot of people come up and say, we got to do something about this. So, but I have seen some things that just I'd like to see cleaned up, especially in our reviving downtown areas. But
The focus has been for the downtown area because we've had so much going on in the downtown and so much interest from the business owners, and we've been so involved with the Main Street manager and such that they feel comfortable in talking to staff whenever there's an issue. And in reality, you can't solve all problems through zoning codes.
Right.
You have to have individual give and take among private parties to solve these issues. When, as you just said it, if it's already built out and you used to do something different, it's hard to redesign where you're going to set a common dumpster, or if you can get your neighbors to agree to that. And those are the way to solve the thing, is agreements among the neighbors. And that seems to be the problem.
Have the businesses been approached about this continuing problem?
Yeah, I mean, staff has gone back and forth quite a bit trying to help the individual parties come together to solve their problems. And this is one possible arena that they kept pushing us to utilize because cooperation isn't working.
Does this cause a health issue or problem, or?
They're not breaking any ordinance.
Any ordinance.
It's
Just arguing over trash.
There's no rats or
Dumpsters
overflowing
or-
trash, or it's just.
yeah.
It's unsightly to the people that are
yeah.
complaining.
So.
Can they be fined? Can they be threatened with a fine?
Not unless they're breaking a law or an ordinance.
Not unless they're breaking
Okay.
laws, and so
That's what we'd have to consider.
you have to make a law that says you need to do X, Y, Z with your trash.
Right.
And